All right, TikTok, everybody, YouTube, Facebook. I try not to read the comments while I'm talking because it distracts me. I read them afterwards, and I try to respond to them. TikTok, I can't do that because they don't keep the comments, but YouTube does. So I don't really read them while I'm on the live. What I've done in the past is I've recorded the questions and then I've responded to them later on different lives, and I could do that again, but I don't like being distracted. So like if I have a moderator that comes on sometimes, like Dakota, a brother up in New Hampshire. If he comes on, then he can help out and he'll be able to read the comments and ask the questions, and I have no problem responding to them. It's just that if I read them while I'm trying to talk, then I can only do one thing at a time. I'm a man. I can't multitask. So yeah. So that's your answer. All right, guys. We're in a good place right now. I mean, I feel really, really, really strong with all this right now. You know, we had a lot of conversations with some people the last few days, and this argument is ready. I mean, there are no holes in this, man, and I'm fully prepared for presenting this because, you know, I've been asked questions, I've responded. I don't think that there's anything that I could be asked now that we haven't prepared. You know, between the time that I had building the case and all of the doubt during that period of time, all the way to now, you guys have helped me actually, you know, fine tune this argument, and we're ready to go. We're ready to go. And you know, just like I said, when I started planning for the tour 3 years ago, I started planning for it. The first thing that I said on the Greenwood Beat radio station, which is the first interview I had after I announced that this is what I was going to do. What I said was, I said that it was going to be 32 press conferences at 32 state capitals over the course of 40 days, ending in Washington, D.C., where there won't be a single news station in the country that won't be there to meet me and greet me and watch me as I walk into the Supreme Court to deliver oral arguments on behalf of people in the United States for the deprivation of rights and freedoms that have been robbed from them by this government. That's what I said 3 years ago. And that's what's coming about right now. Like that's what, not only that, but I also said that it was going to start in Oklahoma. And the bus that we've been donated is right here in Oklahoma. It's going to start right here. It's going to play out exactly the way that God put in my heart to play out. It's about to happen. So I'm going to be here another night because I didn't quite make it to the truck stop. I'm going to have to go to the truck stop and catch a ride over to the 50 miles down to the train station. But again, I'm not even worried about that stuff anymore. I'm close to the truck stop now in the hotel that I'm in. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll find someone that'll give me a ride 50 miles in a truck to get to that bus, to that train station, and then I'll be on my way down. We've got a solid plan. This Telemundo plan is solid, right? With what's going on down the southern border, you know, the tension between America and what we're doing, and I think we got the perfect storm, because we also have an overconcentration of Hispanics, an overpopulation within the prison system down across the southern states. This is something that's affecting those families, and those families are very tight. And there's not a whole lot of options for them to watch news here in America. So, you know, I think that this is a winning plan. I like what God's asked me to do here. So I'm gonna go to Dallas. I'm gonna go to Houston. I'm gonna go to Austin. I'm gonna go to San Antonio, and we're gonna start knocking on those doors of those producers. And one of them's gonna listen, and one of them's gonna run the story. I know one of them's gonna run the story, because it's too easy of a story, right? I mean, you know. Telemundo is an adversarial news agency. They're not American. They would have no problem running this type of story in order to fight back against all the bullshit that's happening. You know, that's not necessarily Trump. That's God, right? That's God setting up events that's all going to play together to bring about this result that we want. All we need is one I mean, it could even be a local news segment, right? It could be local, but that would be enough. That would be, because this would just take off like fucking wildfire. Because it's too easy. It's too easy of a message. There's no denying it. Tell me, where are the indictment by a grand jury that's required by the Constitution? And if you can't show me where they're at, then guess what? Let those people go. Because you put them there unconstitutionally. I mean, they had their hand in the cookie jar and they didn't even know it, because they just been following the leader, doing what they said, you know, and these attorneys, I cannot believe that they just gullibly accept whatever a judge says, because that doesn't seem wise to me, but whatever, that's what they're trained. They're trained to follow judges. That's what administrative law is law made by judges, and they're administrative officers of the court. So yeah, they're trained to follow judges. Well, I'm not, because judges are criminals, man. They're slave owners. And once we figured that out, you know, they have no power, you guys. This enemy is getting a whole lot smaller every day, because again, standing behind me are 2.9 million people, all of whom have had their rights taken away by the 40,000 criminals that are standing in front of me, right? We have 40,000 criminals that we're fighting against. Criminals. That's who the Supreme Court has on their side, is 40,000 criminals who have taken away the rights of the 2.9 million people standing behind me. The numbers are on our side. The numbers are absolutely on our side. They're not on the court side. And for that reason, we're going to win easily. Easily. The people aren't going to stand up for the court. They're not going to stand for the criminals. Once we can show that their actions are treasonous, and then they ignored it and pretend like nothing happened and went about business, continued doing business the same way, despite being made aware, people aren't going to be on that side. They're not going to be supporting that. No, they're on the wrong side. People are going to cross back over. But we have to open their eyes to this. That's what the news is necessary. But this has to happen very, very quickly, right? Because I'm already threatening enough to the government. If I had a gradual rise up, you know, with a couple news segments here and there, you know, I could be in a lot more danger. But if we have a rapid buildup, and remember, Al Jones, Joe Rogan are both within the Austin, Texas market. So if I hit Dallas, I hit Houston, I hit San Antonio with the Telemundo news desks and the Univision news desks, those are going to be all of the markets that Joe Rogan and Alex Jones would be on, or their producers would be on. I would imagine that they have a Spanish-speaking producer somewhere on that team that probably watches the news, and we're going to be able to access them through a regional news segment. I see what God's doing right now. I see it. But we had another really, really good meeting yesterday. I can't tell you who it is or what it is. And I'm going to tell you that we got some athletes, pro athletes, that are wanting to get behind this now. And that was really exciting. When I had that phone call, that was really exciting. So after I finish this Texas trip, I'm gonna be going and meeting with them over on the East Coast, and they want to meet with me directly, you know, because I don't want anything to be lost in translation either. This is too big of a deal. I want to make sure that I'm standing in front of them pitching this because I don't want any errors. I want them to know exactly why I'm doing this and what I'm doing it for, and how it's going to affect the people and benefit all of them. I don't want anything to be lost, because the first thought was oh, he's just doing this for criminals. No, that's not what I'm doing this for. I'm bringing a massive amount of attention to an issue that the people need to talk about. You know, do states have the right to act contrary to the Constitution? I'd say, do judges have the right to amend the Constitution? Those are the issues. Those issues affect prisoners, absolutely. But what you guys got to understand is that in order to challenge the constitutionality of a statute, you must be directly impacted by that statute. That's the only way, you guys. You cannot challenge the constitutionality of a law unless you have been directly impacted by the law. Guys, some of you know, some of you don't know. Guys, I've been in prison. I went to prison. I was in prison between 2017 and 2019, right? In Washington State. I didn't go there because I was a bad person. In fact, what people are going to find out is that I didn't go there for any reason, other than the judge said that he was going to send me. Let me tell you about that trial, because some people have been asking questions, and some people want to talk a bunch of shit, and I'd like to clear it up. I'd like to clear it up because I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody. I'm not. Like, I have nothing to hide. I'm not at all ashamed about anything I've done, because everything I did because I chose to do it. I chose to do it because in order to challenge this issue, I had to be directly impacted by it. No attorney can do this. No NAACP can do this. No ACLU can do it, because they aren't directly impacted by the law. So if I want to help these people, I have to be directly impacted by the law. You have to be a felon in order to challenge the law as a felony. I knew that. You have to fall. You have to put yourself into a situation that it seems impossible and fucking get yourself out of it. That's how you accomplish it possible. That's how it's always done. If you want to do something impossible, the first step is to take a step into a place where there is no turning back. No turning back. You take a step and you say, you know what? I may be a fool, but you know what? I'm going to be a fool, at least daring greatly, but I'm going to do it. I got arrested on November 11th. November 11th of 2016, I think it was. And at the time, I was living with my wife. We lived together. We'd been married for 16 years. We loved each other. We were not getting divorced. But the state put in no contact order between us. No contact order. Jennifer didn't want it. I didn't want it. We were living together. We were trying to get past this bullshit chaos that the state had brought into our lives because of their oversight and their overreach and stuff. I'd never been arrested in my life, guys. Up until this point, I had a SCI security clearance, which is a step above top secret. It is the highest level national security clearance that a person can get, right? Called the Special Compartment Inquiry. I could access any intelligence level data with a need to know that this country had. I was that trusted by this country. And I'd had that for years, probably 12 years. All of a sudden now, I'm arrested. And the day I get arrested, I'm such a danger to society that I can't even get bailed out. And my crime was talking to my wife, who wanted to talk to me. When this happened, you guys, you gotta understand that I'm kind of a rebellious motherfucker, right? I don't really put up too much with people telling me that I can't do something that I know I can do. And so when this judge says to me, Mr. Downing, you can't talk to your wife or your kids, I'm gonna say to him, you can't fucking tell me that, sir, because I have an obligation to talk to my wife. As long as she's married to me, as long as she wants to be married to me and she wants to talk to me, I have an obligation to talk to her, because I promised God that I would when I married her. Therefore, Mr. Judge, you cannot come in and create a law that impairs my obligation to fulfill my duties to God, because I promised God that I would take care of her. And as long as she needs help, as long as she's asking for it, I'm married to her. And I have an obligation to take care of her. So if she calls me because I'm sitting in jail because you tell me that I can't talk to my wife, I'm going to tell you, you know what? I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to fucking sit on the phone with her, and I'm going to tell her how much I love her and how we're going to get through this, and and take care of the kids, and don't worry about me, right? I tell her those things because she needed that, because she's my wife. And as a husband, that's my job. That was my obligations. That's what I promised God that I would do. Guys, I racked up like 800 no contact violations from within jail. I'm not going to stop. Who the fuck is this judge to tell me? Guys, there's a provision in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, that says no state shall create any law that shall impair the obligation of contracts. I have a superior obligation to God. That superior obligation permits me to be able to disregard the obligation of fellow man, which is inferior to the God provision, and I can disregard the law that he created, and I can fulfill my obligations to God, and there's nothing that judge can do about it. This is a right of conscience issue. This is a right of, and it was built to be a right of conscience. It was built so that I can come in and I can argue on behalf of God in this fucking court, right? Because God told me I can do that. So who are you, judge, to tell me I can't talk to my wife? She wants to talk to me. She needs my support. I have an obligation to do so. You can't tell me that I can't fulfill my obligations to God. So 800 no contact order violations later, which, by the way, there was no base crime that even put it into place. But nonetheless, guys, so what happened then is that I pled guilty to the first few, right? I was intimidated in the beginning. Like, I'm losing everything, and like, I don't know what's going on. I've been locked up for 30 days or 90 days, and this prosecutor comes up and says, oh, well, if you plead guilty, we'll let you go today. But if you don't, you're going to go to prison for 3 years. I'm like, I don't want to go to prison for 3 years. No, I'll plead guilty today, sure. So I pled guilty. Sure, I'll plead guilty. Fucking whatever. I got to get out. Well, this bitch of a fucking of a prosecutor, Diane Ruff. That's her name, Ruff. Diane Ruff. Miss Diane Ruff, I would start getting your affairs in order because they're gonna be coming for you real soon, real soon. But Miss Ruff here, you know what she did? She told me that all the no contacts, they're gonna make them go away. They won't exist anymore. I plead guilty. I get to go home and everything's over, and we're done. I'm like, awesome. I made the decision. Jennifer's over there crying. Can't believe that I'm having to do this, but I don't care. I want to go home. I've been in jail for fucking 90 days. I've lost everything now, job, career, everything. And I just said, okay, I'll plead guilty to a residential burglary, which doesn't make sense because how can you burglarize your own property? Like, I was in my house sleeping. How can I be charged with residential? It didn't make any sense, but you know what? That's what they said I had to do, so that's what I was going to do. I'm going to plead guilty to residential burglary and 7 no contact violations or whatever, right? It doesn't matter because I'm getting out today, and I'm not going to prison for 3 years. That's what I did. I pled guilty. She said all the no contact orders would be waived. I got in the car with Jennifer. We drove home, right? Jennifer had to go do some shopping or something, and I was cooking lunch with the kids, right? We're like, okay, everything's gonna be all right, kids. My kids were young at the time, man. I mean, remember, it's been 9 years since I've seen them. This was right around that time. So I think my daughters would have been maybe 4. I said would have been 5 or 6. I was very young. And they've already been traumatized a lot up until this point because, now they've seen dad being arrested and they see a police car and they just start crying. Just, my God, dad's gonna go away. So I'm sitting there cooking lunch for him. I see this fucking city cop pull up in our driveway. I go to the door. I sign paperwork. I open up the door. And they're like, Mr. Young, you got to come out. I'm like, what? And they said, well, you got a no contact order. You can't be here. I'm like, no. The prosecutor fucking dismissed it. They're gone. I don't have them. And they said, okay, well, let's go check. And so they went and made a phone call, whatever. They said, well, yeah, the Superior Court, they got rid of it, but they kept the one in district court, the lower court. So we're still gonna have to take you. Sorry. And then they even told me on the way, they're like, this is obviously a mistake, but we don't have a choice. There's no contact order. And so, they took me from my house that I just, after being told that all this was gonna go away and we're gonna be fine, and they took me back to jail. And now here I am in jail again. And they put another no contact order in the Superior Court now, between my wife and I. So I'm sitting in jail again. On Friday, whatever it was. And long story short, I had to plead guilty to that felony. That particular no contact that was at my house with my kids cooking lunch. They would not do anything about it. The judge said, oh no, we're not gonna get rid of it. The prosecutor said, oh no, you're gonna have to plead guilty to this. That was my first felony. I had to plead guilty to it. Didn't have a choice. My attorney told me that they have the information. They have the information on you. There's nothing you can do. You can't win it. And it doesn't matter whether you thought it was. It was my responsibility to make sure that they were dropped. That's not how that fucking worked. That prosecutor, Diane Ruff, she had a desire to get me back in jail so that she could get that felony on me. On a no contact order violation. That's all I've ever been arrested for is talking to my wife. So I have to serve 6 months now on this felony after serving whatever. So I'm like, well, whatever, I mean, at this point, I kind of accepted, the shit, but I was believing that my wife was out there, that God was working with her too. Like, okay, if I'm here and he's doing all this to me, then he's obviously going to be out there doing this with her too. And maybe she's going to be ready, and we're going to be happy and stuff and be back together when I get out. And that's what my focus was. The whole time I was in, I was like, oh my God, I don't get to talk to my wife because now they didn't allow me to use the phone anymore. They like blocked her number so that I can't call her and she can't call me. So, so there was none. There was actually, because I guess that I called friends and she had to talk to. I think I got a couple more no contact violations for that, but nonetheless, so I pled guilty to this one. Served 6 months. When I got out after the 6 months, I remember I got out and I'm like so excited. I couldn't even sleep the night before. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna see Jennifer tomorrow. Oh my God. She didn't know I was getting out, unfortunately. So I got out. I went to the house that morning. And by the way, I was a multimillionaire at that point. Multimillionaire. I had a great big massive house on the #1 ranked golf course in Washington State, Canyon Lakes. And we were on the 8th fairway of it. Great big beautiful house that I had done most of the remodel to it. I did all the outside. I just put in a massive, great big $100,000 in-ground pool, and I built all the sidewalk pathways, and this was a beautiful house. I'd been living in it for 14 years. I had done all this remodeling to it, and it was an amazing house. So I showed up there, took the bus, showed up there. I'm so excited. Because I'm like, finally, we're gonna be together. It's gonna be okay. Well, it wasn't really how it worked out. When I got to the house, she wasn't there because she had taken a job. Awesome, great, she got a job. I'm happy for her. Went in the house and I went down to the basement. Now the house is a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. It's right. I mean, just fucking disgusting. Worse than I'd ever seen it. Dirty wise. I went downstairs because I had this big office. I had for my home office, I had these 3 different rooms. One was the receiving room with all of the filing cabinets, and then one had a conference room table with projector, and then my main office in the back with this massive, L-shaped desk and computer screens all over the walls and stuff. And so I went back into my office. All my pictures were down. All pictures were down, face down. I'm like, oh, this isn't going good, man. So I sat down and I actually bumped the mouse because I had a laptop that was on a docking station, and it had three monitors connected to it, and then another monitor behind, because I was an engineer. I had a lot of drawings up. I bumped that mouse, and all of a sudden, porn came on all of these screens, all porn, and so now I kind of know a little bit more about what was going on, because right next to my desk is a couple used condoms, all pictured all down, face down, and then she had logged onto her email on my computer. So the computer screen is up and it had her email open on it. And I scrolled through it for a minute. I couldn't go any further, because within the last week she had acknowledged sleeping with at least 10 different guys that week. Some of them were my friends. And so then, I ended up, I don't know why I did it, but I went into the sofa. And I reached down in the sofa for some strange reason, and I pulled out a couple of car keys, a set of Caterpillar keys for like heavy equipment, and another set of keys for something. And so I just sat there and waited for her to come home. Came home for lunch, and she came down, sat on the sofa across from me. I'm like, well, what about these condoms? She said, oh, that's gross. Yeah, I know, man. I said, well, I just got out of jail. What should I do? She's like, well, you can't stay here. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Not my problem. Oh, okay. So I left. She said I can't be there. I have to leave before the kids get out of school, because she doesn't want the kids knowing that I'm out. But I have to leave. So I'm leaving the house, my house, right? All my stuff. I can't take it. And I don't have a car because when she first had me arrested, the judge was going to give me my truck back because we had multiple cars. He was going to give me the truck. But then before I could come back to get the truck, she found out that I was on my way to get the truck, and she called up the finance company and had them come and repossess it just so that I didn't have a vehicle. So so I didn't know where I was going to go now. I mean, fortunately my mom lived in town, so I went and spent a night with her. Well, long story short, guys, I mean, I didn't go to prison because I was a piece of shit. I didn't go to prison because I was a criminal. I went to prison because I wasn't going to turn her in for the things that she was doing. I knew about them. I knew what she was doing. I knew the crimes that she was committing. I was well aware of the pieces of shit that she was dealing with. People that I didn't know, and I'm sitting in jail, and now these people are coming up to me and saying, "Oh, are you the Downing that lives in Canyon Lakes?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Oh, I partied at your house. I partied with your wife." And I'm like, "Why the fuck are you telling me this? Why would you tell me that?" I mean, she had this guy move in during this period of time, Josh Hambrook. I don't know Josh Hambrook. I don't know him. So while I'm sitting in jail fighting for our marriage and fighting for our whatever, this dude's moving into my house. You know? Heroin dealer or some shit, right? And while they're there, you know, I mean, while they're there, they find out that I have a storage unit in Seattle. It was the last of my company equipment. I'd taken it was about $1 million worth of equipment. The last of my company's equipment. It was anything I left, you know, that she hadn't gotten her hands on. And I'd taken it and hid it up in Seattle in a storage unit up there, just in my name, no one else's name. But now I'm in jail, and because I'm in jail again, I couldn't pay the bill. So U-Haul ended up sending it to the old address, and they found out, oh, he has a storage unit in Seattle. So what did they do? Well, they decided they were going to forge a power of attorney while I'm in jail, and then go up there and transfer that storage unit into Josh Hambrook's name, which they did. And you know what's funny is that you know God has this way of making everything known. Like it's funny because as much as I don't want to have to fucking deal with these people show up in my life just out of the blue. And what's funny is like the guy that Jennifer used to pretend to be me with my passport and my driver's license, who he thought I was a fucking piece of, like the things Jennifer had told him about me was horrible, right? I didn't know the guy. But I was at home, you know, years and years and years later. This was before I left to come to DC from Washington State. This is the last house I had. And I just happened to have a roommate there. And that roommate, Andy, she had a guy come over. His name's Mike. And Mike was in talking with her in her bedroom, and I guess she fell asleep or something. And so he came out in the living room, and I was watching TV, and sat down, and we started talking, telling him all about what I'm doing, and, you know, the plea bargains and all this other shit. And he's like, "Oh my God, man, it's fucking amazing what you're doing. Awesome, good for you. I'm so appreciative of what you're doing," and so on. And then I started telling, after a couple hours of talking, like I liked Mike a lot. I still do. I like Mike a lot. But he got to know me, right? He got to know me, and he liked me a lot, and he appreciated what I was doing because, you know, he had been arrested before. I'm fighting for him. So then I started telling him about my marriage, Jennifer. Guy turns white. And I'm like, "What's going on? Do you know Jennifer?" Because this wasn't the first time. Like, I had men come into my apartments before, and they'd see my pictures of her, and they'd be like, "Huh, is that Jen?" "Yeah, it is." "Oh, I've got naked pictures of her right here." So, you know, I don't know why I had to deal with this. I don't know why I had to keep having these people, you know, come into my life that was telling me about, you know, what she was doing behind my back for years. Other than the fact that, you know, that there's an awful lot of trauma that I had to heal, apparently. And the only way to do it is by opening that shit up and fucking, you know, exposing it. But I didn't know about all this. Like, I didn't know the shit that she was doing. I was not prepared for any of this, because I had built a fucking multi-million-dollar Was any of that disturbing to you guys? This isn't a wedding ring. So I wear this on my right hand, not my left hand. My daughters gave me this ring when Jennifer pawned my wedding ring, right? She pawned my wedding ring 9 years ago, and my daughters told me that they wanted me to be married to God from now on. So they went and bought me this ring, and I wear it on my right hand. This isn't a wedding ring. This is my daughter's, and I wear it because my daughters asked me to, and it will never come off. Well, I don't care if you think it's made up. I'm not. You're welcome to go anywhere else. You're welcome to not listen. I don't give a shit. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm telling you what the story is, and you can believe it or not. Your belief has no bearing on reality. So good luck. Good luck with life, bud. So, Mike is sitting there with me, living room. He turns white. He's like, man, I was the guy that took your passport and went and had this power of attorney signed. I pretended to be you. And he's like, but you're not a dick. You know? You see what happens is that when a person tells you about someone, right, and they create this image of this person, you already have it in your mind of what this person is. You already have an opinion of this person. So what happens is when this person comes around, that opinion drives your image of that person. You can't see them as equal because all you can see is the piece of shit that someone else told you that they were, right? And so, Nate, I'm gonna go ahead and get you the fuck out of here, dude, because you're welcome to just take a hike, dude. You want to be stupid and get out of here, man. Like I said, dude. You're blocked, dude. Get out of here. I don't need you here. All right, so he told me that he was the one that forged power of attorney, and then he was also the one who loaned them the truck to go up to, and the trailer to go up to Seattle to unload my storage unit with all my equipment. And then he drove it back to Josh Hambrook's dad's house and put it all in the garage. And he said, you know what? There's still some of your shit sitting in that garage because it was so specialized equipment that they didn't even know how to get rid of it. Right? They didn't even know how to get rid of it. He's like, I guarantee you that they still got some of your stuff in that garage. But again, like what happened with Mike was that he had this image of me, right? He had this image of me to begin with. But he didn't know that this was me. So he had this image of who he thought I was, Jennifer's husband, piece of shit, right? Beats his kids, beats his wife, all these things, right? Had this image of me, but then he sits down with me, spends a little time with me, he gets to know me. And he's like, man, this is a good guy. I like this guy. And then all of a sudden, he finds out who I am. And now he has to reconcile who he thought I was with who he now knows that I am. And he immediately reconciled it because he met me. Who I am was right in front of him. It's not the words that's created. These people could create an image of you, but you don't have to be that person. You don't have to be that thing. You don't have to be. They can call you a criminal, but they can't make you be a criminal because you can be your own self. You can choose who you are and how you're going to be. I'm not gonna delve into the delusions that a judge and my ex-wife make about me so that they can fucking win some property in a divorce. I don't have to live in that world. I don't have to be that person. That's not me. That's a lie. And I'm not gonna work in a world of lies because that's crazy. It's chaos. So here's Mike reconciling and saying, you know what? I don't believe Jennifer anymore because I met this guy. This guy's different. And you see, this is one of those things that I learned when I went to prison. That was the first thing is that there were a couple times that people would come up to me and they'd start telling me about the reason why they were there. And the moment they did, I would feel like my own self. I feel like start judging them, right? Because I'm like, oh, you did that? It's like, oh my God, like how can I possibly help you? Like that's horrible that you did that. And I fucking, so I immediately felt myself coming into a position where I'm above them, right? Where I'm feeling that, and I didn't want to feel that. Call me, guys. So I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that my opinion of these people, God damn it, you guys. Facebook, you're gonna lose it in a second because someone's trying to fucking call like a bunch of assholes. Okay, so I felt myself judging immediately. And so I decided from then on that I don't want to know anything about why anyone is here. You know, that's the first thing I would tell them. They come down and sit with me because they want to hear about the case. They want to hear about what I'm doing. Because remember, guys, I went to prison not because I was a criminal. I went there because God needed me to go to work. I got 4,000 people to petition this writ of habeas corpus while I was there. Every single person I talked to, they filed one. I wrote the writs. I wrote the responses. I did all fucking work, including sharing it amongst the whole goddamn prison. I mean, people were hearing about it all across the state because every single person wanted to get in on this writ. Oh my God, you're the guy. This is the guy. The guy that wrote the writ. This is the guy. Yeah, and I would go to church 6-7 times a day. That's the only place. I would go to church, and I'd sit in church, and people would come in, and they just want to talk. Okay, tell me about it. I explain what's going on. And if they want to get on board, then I would tell them what paperwork to get. They would go and they would order it the next day, and when it arrived at their unit, then they would take it and they'd come back to church, and I'd sit down and make sure it gets all filled out properly. And then the only thing that we had to do was just the first 4 pages. Everything else was standard. I did it. Everything else, I wanted to make sure that every single person was in the same exact procedural situation so that I could litigate this in one single swoop. So I had 290 pages that I had written for this writ, all the supporting documents, all the law, all the case, every bit of it, like, you know, footnotes and everything. Handwritten because, you know, I can't type anything in there. Hand wrote, 290 pages. And I was the first to submit. April 10th, 2019 was the first day. That was when I submitted. I had to wait until after the appeal was denied. I knew the appeal was going to be denied because I never even talked to the appellate attorney, right? Appellate attorney never even called me. I didn't tell her anything because they thought that I was just accepting my fate. Like, oh, he just went away. He's quiet. Let's just let it go. We're not going to approve his appeal because they would have approved my appeal had they known that I was about to fucking come after them on a fucking straight up, you know, habeas corpus judicial relief attack and destroy the fucking state of Washington. But no, they thought, oh, he's just quiet now. He's just accepted his fate. We're going to get away with this. We're going to be all right. No, I'm just a patient man. That's all. But, you know, when I got to prison, I knew that I had to get prepared, you guys. I'm there for a reason. I'm not there because I'm a criminal. I'm there because God needed me to be there. That's where he needed me to be to serve him. I asked for him to let me do this, and he let me do it. So I knew that I had to get prepared. And what's the first thing that tyrants or terrorists do when you get educated or when you start to rise up? The oppressors, well, they take away your books because the last thing they want is a slave that's educated. So they take away the books. So I knew immediately that Black's Law Dictionary that I had was going to be taken away, that the Criminal Procedure Manual was going to take away, that the Civil Procedure Manual was going to be taken away. I knew that they were going to take those books away because that's the first thing that the Germans did, take the books away. So the first 6 months that I was in prison, as I was waiting for the appeal to come through, because again, I couldn't do this before the appeal. Because if I did it before the appeal, then they would have approved the appeal, and then what would have happened? They would have just remanded it back to the court, and then they wouldn't have made these errors again. And they would have locked me up lawfully, and I wouldn't have been able to do the things I did. No, I had to make them think that I was just accepting the fate, like, oh, yeah, they're right and I'm wrong and whatever, and now I'm just a piece of shit criminal. No, I knew the truth. I just wasn't going to challenge it because just as Sun Tzu says in the book of The Art of War, one who knows when he can fight and when he cannot fight will be victorious. There's times that I could fight and times that I cannot. That wasn't a time that I could. But the first thing I did was I hand copied every single page of the entire Black's Law Dictionary, of the entire Criminal Procedure Manual, of the entire Civil Procedure Manual. I had like stacks of paper, you know, this tall, hand copied papers, because that Black's Law Dictionary is there's a lot of paper, there's a lot of writing in there. And I had to hand copy it all because I have that didactic memory. So when I write something, it's imprinted on my brain. It's not photographic, it's didactic. So, you know, the key was that I needed to have this information so that when we did move forward and start this attack, I had to be prepared because I'm in prison, guys. I mean, I'm in the belly of the beast, about to attack the beast from within, right? It was gonna be ugly. And I was nervous about safety and everything else, but God's got me under control. He's got, because if I filed this and they read it and they saw, oh, this is a legitimate complaint, the first thing they would have done is they would have put me into segregation. They would have pulled me out of that unit, and I would have never seen another person the whole rest of the time, and they would have never let me around anybody else. So I couldn't do that either. I had to be there to interact with everybody. So before I filed, I already had 52 other people from within that unit ready to file. I'd already walked them through. I'd already explained everything. They were on board. They were ready to go. I filed on the first on April 10th. The next day we had 10 filings that were already scheduled to go. By the end of that week, we had 52 people. That was enough to keep me safe, right? That was enough to get me in the numbers, and we were safe. We were never at risk again. I did have to go talk with the warden 3 different times. One of which he said, "Well, you know, I can get you on inciting a riot." And I'm like, "No, you can't, because if you did, then this would be you infringing on my ability to peaceably assemble and petition the government for redress grievances." I'm like, "Sir, just you don't want to get involved in this. Just let this be. This isn't your fight. This is the court's fight. Let them fight it. You just let this be." He's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll let it be. Don't get out of line." "I won't. I'm going to church, man. I'm just gonna go to church. I'm just gonna spend my time in church. It'll be all right." The next time I saw him, he sent his captain down. His captain said, "Is there any way we can deal with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, send everybody home. We can deal with it." I mean, I don't know what else you want, Captain. I mean, what? You're gonna give me some fucking ramen packs to deal with this shit? What the fuck are you talking about, man? No, there's no dealing with this, man. Fucking. And so he walks away. That was the second time that I had interaction with the warden. Guys, my point here is that I'm in the beast here. Like they could do anything to me. You know, take me into a black corner and snap my neck, and no one would be the wiser. But they couldn't do that, man. They couldn't, because if they did, they would bring attention to this issue. If they did, it would be opposing party acting against a active litigant and ongoing federal litigation at the court. That court protected me in ways that you wouldn't even believe. I would file cease and desist letters against these officers, and the next day those officers couldn't do half the shit that they were doing. They couldn't search cells. They couldn't search the prisoners. None of them. They couldn't even interact with the prisoners. They couldn't even talk to them at one point in time. They couldn't go in their rooms because we had legal documents within our rooms. Guys, 4,000 people. Every single person in this prison was an active litigant in ongoing federal litigation against the state of Washington, and every one of these corrections officers are all state of Washington. They couldn't fuck with us, because if they did, I was filing cease and desist orders with the court, and guess what? Immediately the next day, it would be shut down. Because I say, well, if you don't correct this act of aggression by opposing party, then we will be entitled to any all civil, criminal, and or financial retaliation against those acts of aggression. And we would file that with the court. And next thing we know, they're done. They don't do it anymore. You know, and now we're at another situation where we're actually at a higher court now. We're at the United States Supreme Court now, which United States Supreme Court covers all 50 states, right? And this litigation, this is about states that are abusing their power, right, in order to get people, you know, to do what they want them to do. It's an act of terrorism, because terrorism is defined as the threat or use of threat of fear in order to bring about a desired result from one organization to another organization. So when you use a threat of fear or actual fear in order to get someone to do what you want them to do, that's the very definition of terrorism. So we've got these states that are abusing their powers in order to get us to comply with whatever fucking policy they want us to comply with, to give up our rights and our freedoms and our property and our money so that they can just fucking do whatever they want to do in their policy. It's terrorism. And so just as I said to the court, you know, many years ago, that it's a shame that our global war on terror has entered into our own borders and so dramatically impacted our own citizens. Because that's what this is. This is all about terrorism. Right? Because the father of modern day terrorism is known as the Assyrians. Biblically, Assyrians. You know, the Assyrians were a brutal group of people, horrible, nasty group of people. They would like skin their opponents alive and then hang them on fucking stanchions and shit, just to keep people from, you know, ever talking back to them ever again. I don't know. So they did horrible things, but they say that terrorists today are descendants of the Assyrians. They descend from them because that's the father of modern day terrorists. Now, the Assyrians, they had a religion that was known as the court religion. This is a court religion. And if they worshipped, their temple was known as a house. There's a courthouse. Guys, you can confirm all this information. Okay? If you think this isn't true, I challenge you to go out and confirm this information. Okay? Challenge you to, because what I'm telling you is the truth. So the Assyrians had a religion known as the court religion. And if you worshipped in a temple, their temple was known as a house. And what destroyed Judah was that they started building these courthouses in every single city, and then they would bring in what was known as a false god. Because the Assyrians worshipped a false god. Not the one true God, but a false god. You know, and they were known as Baal. Baal. So they would bring in a false god, something other than one true God. They would put it in this temple, this courthouse, and then they would make the people go in and worship that false god, not the one true God, but the false god, and then they would have to sacrifice themselves. That was the Assyrians' religion. It was all about sacrifice, human sacrifice. Well, the Latin translation for Baal is Bel, B-E-L. So Baal, B-A-A-L, is the Assyrian translation, but then Bel would be the Latin translation, which would be the English version. So if we're waiting for the Great Rebellion, right, according to 2 Thessalonians, because the man of lawlessness has set himself up into the temple, claiming to be equal to God, even claiming to be God, and we're waiting for the Great Rebellion. I think it's here, guys. This is the Great Rebel. Because what we're doing is we are building a courthouse, a temple, an Assyrian fucking temple in every single city. And in that temple, we're taking something that's not God, man, and we're putting him in there as a false god. And he says to you, he says, oh, you listen to me, I'm equal to God. I'm even God because I get to create the law. And motherfucker, you do not get to create the law because judges don't get to create the law. But you're claiming to be equal to God, just like 2 Thessalonians says that the man of lawlessness is going to do. Because all of these fucking judges are all acting lawlessly. There is no law in them. They're not following the law, which is lawless. The experts of the fucking law. The experts that we gave to have law don't even know what the law is. That's not experts, that's criminals. So the man of lawlessness, right, could have set himself up in the temple, claiming to be God, claiming to be equal to God, get all the people to come in and worship him. Okay, and we're waiting for the Great Rebellion. Well, there's more to this as well, because did you know that the Assyrians priests, they walked around in long black robes? Long black flowing robes. Even Jesus talked about it on the temple on the sermon. You hypocrites, you walk around in long black flowing robes. Right? He was referring to the Assyrian priests, which just so happened to be, you know, the temple, the courthouse, and we put a fucking priest in there, a supposed, you know, expert in Ecclesiastes law, right? An expert in morality to lead the people toward morality, and yet he's fucking a criminal. Walking around in a long black flowing robe. The parallels exist. Like this story has been written thousands of years ago. And it's repeating itself. And it's literally unfolding right in front of our eyes right now. In front of our eyes, like it's amazing. And that's why I say that, you know, we're in a pretty good position. Because I know what side I'm on. And that side wins. That side over there, they know what side they're on too. And the fact that they are not giving up has me a little bit concerned for their spiritual future, because they're still going to fucking lose. They don't stand a chance against what has been written fucking 8,000 years ago that's now unfolding in front of our fucking eyes, guys. It's the most amazing thing to see. And once you guys do see it, and you start understanding the history of it, there's nothing you got to be afraid of, man. Because these guys are going to lose. They're not going to win. They're not going to win. They can't win. Because this is God's purpose. God didn't create man to be abused and trodden upon by his fellow. No, God created man to be happy, to be full of love and take care of each other. And he created community, he created love. Those are the things he created. And children, and yet this fucking institution over here with long black flowing robes is destroying everything that God's created so that they can advance their fucking temples and shit, you know? That's Babylon, guys, because the capital of Assyria was Babylon. So now you've got a whole bunch of judges that have built this temple of justice from their fucking babbling on. Their judge-made fucking rulings that they placed at the foundation of this temple. Not the Constitution, because the Constitution was supposed to be the foundation. Instead, they put the opposite. They put their judge-made rulings at the foundation, and they built the temple upside down. Starting with the judge-made rulings at the foundation, and ending with the Constitution up at the top. That's why the pyramid has it there, with the eye up at the top of the... Yeah, because the fucking Constitution's up at the top. It was supposed to be at the bottom, man. But the judges did it upside down, because they're fucking so goddamn smart. But the problem is that if you build your temple with the flawed foundation, then guess what, man? When the storm comes, don't be surprised if it's going to fucking fall. Jesus told you, he warned you, that if you build your temple, or if you build your house, your courthouse, upon the sand of the fucking slavery institution, on reclaimed sand in a fucking swamp, then don't be surprised if it's going to fall. You should have built it upon the bedrock of the nation, and you didn't do it. Your house is coming down and the storm's fucking upon you, judges. And I just want you guys to wake up and do the right thing, because I am concerned about your spiritual future. Judges and prosecutors and whatever the fuck else. You guys are in for a lot of bad shit. A lot of bad shit's coming your way. And it's not bad shit that's going to be here on this world. It's in bad shit in a different world. And I just keep on trying to call you guys back, because I can see where you guys are going, and I don't want you guys to go there. Because that's not a place that I want anybody to have to be. But you're going to fucking be there, man. Because of your own choices that you're making. And you got to pull your head out of your ass and listen to what the fuck's being said and address it. Because if you don't, then your failure to take action is still a decision. And it's going to be the wrong decision. Because if you know about something and you choose to not do it, according to the book of James, that's still sin. If you know that you should do something and you choose to not do it, you're still sinning, man. All you motherfuckers over here, you know what you're supposed to do. And you're not doing it. And you're running out of time, man. Because like I'm expecting any day now. Like any moment, I'm expecting, my free ride finally, after all the work that I've done serving God, things are going to change. And all of a sudden the tables are going to turn, and I'm going to fucking skyrocket to the goddamn top, because that's the only way to keep me safe. And I'm going to go from not being known to tomorrow the whole fucking country knows what I did, and that's the only way that I can get safe from these fucking people over here that are going to try to kill me again. And that's the only way to do it, right? Because once I start building momentum, once we start uniting the people, once the people start hearing about it and going, oh, fuck, that's right, that's true. Oh, we might get our family back together, right? Dad might be coming home, and fucking Billy might be coming home, and everybody's gonna be happy, because they're all looking for a fucking way to save this country. They just don't know how to do it. We're gonna show them how to do it, because I've already done it. I built it. It's done. It's in place. This fucking tower is about to fall because they built their shit on fucking judge-made rulings. And judges don't make the fucking law. And yet, if you walk into a courtroom and you say, Judge, my right to indict my grand jury is deprived. And he's going to say, well, let me see. Let me check and see if your constitutional right to indict my grand jury has been deprived. Is he going to go to the Constitution, the object of which his fidelity is bound, that his oath is within two? Is he going to go to the Constitution, what should be the foundation, right? Is he going to do that to determine whether or not my rights have been violated? Or is he going to go to the flawed decision of the man that came before him? Or the flawed decision of the man that came before him? Or perhaps the flawed decision of the slave owner that came before all of them? That's where he's going. He's going to the judge-made ruling. Well, unfortunately, Judge, your fucking oath and your obligation, your fidelity is not with the fucking flawed decision of the man who came before you. Your fidelity is with the Constitution. And when you don't go to it to determine whether or not my constitutional rights have been violated, and you go to something fucking else, then guess what? That's not fucking lawful. Because your oath is with the Constitution. It's not with the fucking flawed decision of the man that came before you. Judges don't make the fucking law. They don't make the law. Everything you guys have done, your whole fucking careers, everything you guys have put together, all of this shit, because you're so fucking smart and so fucking amazing and such wonderful moral protagonists for our country, leading our country in a fucking moral direction, it's going to be a really rude awakening for you fucking assholes when you wake up and realize that you're nothing but a bunch of fucking traitors and criminals that don't know anything about the law, because that's the truth, man. That's the truth. And we can see that because the law is simple. Constitution at the motherfucking foundation. And what did you do? We're not going to put it at the foundation. Well, everything you built. The whole fucking goddamn tower is built upon a flawed foundation. And when I get back to DC with 500,000 criminal affidavits, that fucking storm is going to tear the fucking thing down. And you're going to watch it fall. There's not going to be anything that you can do about it. Court, because once again, I have 2.9 million people standing behind me whose rights have been taken from them by the 40,000 criminals standing behind you. Those 40,000 criminals don't stand a chance against my 2.9 million people. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen when these 2.9 million people wake up one day and say, why am I even fucking staying here? Like, why am I even here? There isn't even a judgment in place. They can't even keep me here. What's going to happen when they wake up and they say, you know what? I'm just going to walk the fuck up out of here. Because there's not even a conviction that's in play. What's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Not one fucking thing. Because those corrections officers aren't going to stop them. They're not going to fucking stop anybody. They're going to step inside and say, have a nice day, guys. Because their fucking detainment, their imprisonment, their enslavement is all fucking unlawful because there's nothing there because you judges are fucking a bunch of criminals that didn't even know how to fucking follow the law. And so what you produced, what you have with all these people sitting in prison, they're there on a fucking delusion. Your fucking delusion, judges. Your fucking lies. And they don't have to be there. So what's going to happen when they wake up and they realize that they can walk the fuck up out of that prison? You guys are going to have to tell those security guards to step the fuck back. Because if you were to attack them, right? Or if you were to tell them to pull out their gun and hold the fucking slaves in enslavement without lawful authority, justices, that wouldn't go good for you. That would be fucking really, really bad. Because these officers would not have authority to be able to take action against them because there is nothing that's there holding them in that place. So you can see how this is going to go, one of a couple different ways. Like this could be really fucking bad for you guys. This could be horrible for you guys. Or you guys can step up and just fucking, just pretend that you're honorable. Please, just pretend. All right? You don't have to actually be honorable. You guys can be pieces of shit all you want, but pretend for the fucking American people that you guys are honorable. Just pretend. And fucking do the honorable thing. And fix the fucking problem that you guys made. Because when you say to me that this is too big of a deal, right? You say to me that, this has been going on for too long. We can't do that. This is just too big. Well, fuck your big. You guys caused this, government. The people didn't do this. This was your fucking error. And now you're going to say it's too big to fix because what? It's going to have too big of an impact on your fucking operations because of your contracts and the rest? No, I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to raise the bullshit flag on that because the people didn't do this. You did this. So you fucking fix this. You're not going to continue to oppress the people and hold them in a state illegally and unconstitutionally, force them into involuntary servitude because you guys think that it's too big of a deal. The fucking deal is from you. You should have directed and fixed this years ago, Supreme Court. You shouldn't have just fucking gone about business pretending like this didn't exist, ignoring it because you don't want to have to fucking fix it. Because that's not a fucking leader. That's kind of a piece of shit. That's kind of a liar, right? And that's kind of someone that's been profiting off of their illegal acts for 243 years. Those are traitors. Those are traitors. So I'm going to tell you, Supreme Court, your time is running fucking short here. Because I'm now about to get onto a train. And I'm going to go to fucking Mexico or down to Texas. And I guarantee you that before I fucking leave Texas, there will be a fucking segment that will be run on this. I guarantee you, right? I guarantee you. They will run a segment on this. And when they run a segment on this, it's muted. Okay, so when they run a segment on this, that local market will be sufficient. I better, guys, over there. So that local market, God damn it. That local market will run a segment. I will get at least a 3-minute segment. I can sell that. I can sell that in my sleep at this point in time. Between the border, between the border, the birthright citizenship, the overpopulation of Hispanics in the prison system, which one of the smorgasbord do I want to fucking approach the news with, right? Which one do I want? Because they're already pissed off, right? Telemundo's already, going to be looking for some way to, put a black eye on the administration. So, I'm just going to go with something. Hell, I'll pitch a couple things to them. They'll run the story. I fucking guarantee you they'll run the story. And it will be a local story. Sure, it won't be a national story. But the Hispanics are pretty fucking tight, man. They're pretty tight. And when they hear about this story, it's going to spread to other fucking places pretty quick. And who knows, maybe I'll just go straight across. I'll go to New Mexico next and hit Albuquerque for a day or two, and because they need to hear about it, right? And then what about Arizona? They need to hear about it too, right? I can just head back over that way, maybe hit the Atlantic, check out the fucking fire in LA, and thank the firefighters for all their sacrifice to do it for free for millionaires and all the rest. But yeah, so anyway, so I'm gonna get the segment. It's gonna come. And then next week, I've got some really, really interesting people with some power now that really like what I'm saying, really like what I'm doing, and they really want to get involved in it. And they have a lot of money, especially pulled together. They have a lot of money, and they also know a lot of news people too, because they're always on the news, right? Football players and baseball players, they're always on the news. Hell, they know all kinds. So, I want you to understand right now, Court, that this is not going to fucking go away. It's not going to go away. I am not going to stop. You can fucking you can do and make me a martyr if that's what you want to do. Or you can fucking start to own up to your shit, right? And be a fucking man and a woman of integrity and fix your fucking problem. Hold your predecessors accountable to the crimes they commit, or you guys are culpable in it. Marshall was a fucking traitor. Tanny was a fucking traitor. Waite was a traitor. Get those fucking justices, get their history, get their tenor, get every case that they've ever fucking had, get it the fuck off the record. Because we're not going to stand by as the people with the belief that blacks are not and were not intended to be included, in other words, citizens in the Constitution. Mr. Tanny, we can still read that in the fucking law, right? Your case law, your fucking judgment ruling that blacks are people. We can still read that today. That's the people don't believe in that shit. We don't fucking buy into your racial discourse and your fucking economic discourse that's designed to create fucking hostility and tension so that we fight amongst each other so that you can profit off of our fighting. We're not going to buy into that shit anymore. We don't fucking believe you anymore, government. Racism is a fucking illusion that you guys created, government. You did this. You created this so that we would fight amongst each other, and you blamed slavery on the races, it's black versus white. Guys enslaved each other. No, we fucking didn't. You enslaved us through financial institutions because slavery is an economic issue, you motherfuckers. But when you tell us that it's a fucking race issue and you get us fighting, then we don't fucking turn and look at you and say, it's the government that's the real antagonist because they're robbing us fucking blind. You kept us looking the wrong direction, man. It was a looky-loo. But we're not going to look that direction anymore. I'm telling you, the races are fucking coming together, man. My brothers are going to fucking stand beside me, and I'm going to stand beside them, and we are going to fight together. There is not going to be division in this anymore. And that's going to go for the gangs as well, because I'm telling you, the Southsiders, Northsiders, they came to me and they asked if they could use this as a mechanism to bring peace to their feuding gangs so they can work together to overcome this issue. That's the hope that we're seeing. That's what this is doing. There's no need for us to fight as the people when it's the government that's the real problem. Because when we come together as 2.9 million people against you 40,000 fucking criminals, we know. Autumn, Sherry, if you guys fucking call me again, I will block you guys and you will never be on my Facebook again. So if you're listening, do not fucking call me again. Okay? All right, so I lost my train of thought. 2.9 million people behind me. They all had rights. Their rights were all taken. There's no denying it. And those rights were taken by 40,000 criminals in front of us. And those 40,000 criminals believe that they can profit off of these 2.9 million people over here working in their institutions, and yet government cannot profit off its illegal acts. Government cannot fucking profit off of the enslavement of the people. And yet, here we are. This is not going to be difficult. All of this right here, all of this is going to be very, very simple when I have the opportunity to explain it to people in the United States. It's not going to take long. I mean, so with the 3-minute segment, I may not get much with the 3-minute. We might only get the indictment issue there, but that indictment issue is big enough that when there's 700,000 people across Texas, New Mexico, California, Arizona, Washington, that are charged by information, sitting in prison, I would assume that those fucking Hispanic families are probably gonna be like, oh, motherfucker, better get him home, right? And they're gonna come together because they're tight little families, and they're gonna come together and they're gonna be like, you know what? I know a little bit about the law because I've been impressed by this fucking America for a while here, so I know how to file some paperwork, right? Because I've been in prison, you know, and these guys are more fluent in law than any one of you prosecutors or judges because you guys don't practice law. You guys use threats and intimidation. That's not practicing law. That's intimidation. That's fear. And fear is not the law, because when you have the law on your side and you're using it as a weapon, that fear, that weapon or that law is the fear. You guys are gonna be scared to fucking death when you see us coming here. Which is why I say, I mean, if I were you and if I were advising you, you know, if I were your attorney, I would say, guys, concede, get the fuck, keep yourself from going into that fucking noose, because they're coming. They're getting pretty close right now, because we understand what's going on. We understand the lies. We've cut through it. We can see, you know, the true reality. We can see who evil actually is, the origin of it. And we can say, you know what? They aren't that big. They aren't as big as we thought they were, because what stands behind us is way bigger than them. That's why democracies are destroyed at the hands of the people every time. Because once the government becomes oppressive and tyrannical, the people rise up and they say, no, there's fucking 40,000 of you and there's 330 million of us. You guys are done. You get fucking out of here, man. You know, it's like a fly swat, right? 40,000. And they're all scared to death because they know what they are. They know what they've done. And now they're just trying to rule by force to try to get you guys to, no, don't believe that we're fucking traitors. Don't believe that. Right? Because that's all they got left. But even that is a fucking facade. Because the only reason why they're projecting onto you fear is because they have fear. They're scared. That's why they're quiet on this. And that's why the only play that they have is to fucking threaten you, to try to make you afraid. But guess what, man? Do you need to be afraid of a criminal? What about you, prisoners? All you 2.9, do you need to be afraid of where you're at? No, those motherfuckers are criminals. You aren't. Because remember, guilt is a process. They didn't take you through the process. Therefore, you're not guilty. But public officials and prosecutors and security guards or whatever, correctional officers, they all have per se crimes. Meaning that if they don't do what the Constitution requires them to do, then they're guilty, period. It's automatic. Yes, I'll be out in what's that guy saying? I'm going to wrap up the podcast right now.
I've got a couple more words.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, guys. So, when you think about it, they're not that tough, man. Because even those corrections officers are automatically guilty of perjury right at the bat. So they're the criminals, not you. You may not be innocent. I get that. But the state was responsible in determining your guilt and proving your guilt. And they didn't do that. That's what I'm fighting for. I can show that you guys aren't guilty. I don't know if you're innocent. That's between you and God at this point in time. Go to him, get your forgiveness, but you're not going to be guilty because they didn't follow the process. However, all those motherfuckers that are holding you in place there, all those motherfuckers that say that you're the criminal, it turns out they're actually the criminal. Because every one of them are all guilty of perjury immediately, among other crimes. All of them, every fucking one of them is guilty of perjury, including all the DOC officers that's holding you in that place. They're the criminals because their per se crime is automatic. Yours aren't. They have to prove that we're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. All we have to do is show that they had an obligation. They didn't do it, and they're convicted. They're done, cooked. We showed that they had an obligation. We don't have to do any more. So I don't need paperwork to fucking show that you're a criminal. No, you had an obligation. You didn't do it. You're guilty. Fucking done. Cooked. I mean, I'm going to determine your guilt right there because you're fucking guilty, correction. You're guilty, Attorney General. You're guilty, President. You're guilty, fucking Justice. You're all fucking guilty. Every one of you. I don't need paperwork to fucking show that you're guilty because you didn't do what you promised to do. You fucking broke the law. Guilty. Right? We don't have to fight in your fucking, your battlefield. I'm not going to go in your courtroom. Fuck your courtroom. That's where you guys win. I'm going to win out here. And we're blowing them away, guys. We're blowing them away, okay? Blowing them away. They don't stand a chance against us on this. Okay? We have the numbers. We have the faith. Even the people are going to be behind this. They just have to hear this. They just have to hear me. So, this week, I'm going to get heard. Univision, Telemundo, I'm going to get them to run the story. One of these markets, they're going to run it. And when they run it in one of these regional markets, be it Dallas or San Antonio or Houston, when they run it, it's going to be so close to the Joe Rogan Experience or Alex Jones, because they're both within the Austin market. They're right outside of Austin. But if we can get the local news, regional news to play within their market, then someone within their team is going to hear about it. And they're going to say, man, yeah, that's a good story. Let's get that guy here. And now we're going to be moving forward. Add to that the fact that we already have the tour bus, already been donated. Add to that the fact that next week I'm meeting with people that are ready and willing to fund this as long as I sell myself in a way that they think is professional and consistent with with what they think will save America, which they will. I'm good at that. I'm good at bringing hope. They're already sold on it anyway. They just don't know it yet. So we've got funding, which means that you guys don't worry about your fucking donations anymore. You want to donate? Maybe donate one more time because I am short on money, but don't donate anymore because we got fucking assholes that are coming out here trying to steal money. And you know what? This was never about the money. I just needed it to be able to get this done, right? You guys have been keeping me in food. You guys have been keeping me in a place to sleep. You guys have been giving me bus tickets and whatever I needed to finish this, right? That's what you guys were giving me. It wasn't for some fucking asshole to come here and steal $200 from you because they fucking see an opportunity. That's a piece of shit, man. And I hope you guys find that person, Kara. I hope you find Kara Bells out there. I hope you find Kara Tilly, right? And you let Kara know that, you know what, Kara? You could have been so much fucking better than this, man. I saw it, right? I believe in you. That's why you were fucking working with me. That's why we were together, right? Is because I liked you, Kara, and I saw something in you. Saw something better in you. But you showed your colors. You showed your colors the day that you did the same shit that my ex-wife did to me. You did to me simply because you fucking wanted to hurt me, right? Right? And you knew the trauma that you were going to bring in. You knew that my wife was sleeping with these other. You've heard the story. I told you all of it, Kara. And so when you think that I sideways you because I go to church, right? And I don't invite you to church. You invite a guy over and you're sleeping with him in the house that's rented for me when I come back, and you wanted to be doing that simply because I would see it because you knew that it would fucking hurt me. I'm gonna tell you, Kara, that's not a friend of mine. That's not a friend of mine. A person that would do that to me is not a friend. So you have no right to have access to me. You have no right to money, nothing. I don't owe you a fucking thing, Kara. So you're out here now stealing from these people because you think that I owe you something. Kara, I don't owe you anything, right? I don't owe you nothing. You're not entitled to a fucking thing from me because my friends wouldn't hurt me and you weren't my friend, right? I was your friend, but it wasn't reciprocated. And I get that now, right? So you guys, one thing that we got to understand is that when we get extorted, right? Because that's what she was doing. She was trying to extort me. She had sent a bunch of threats to me saying, oh yeah, if you don't give me that money, then I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to sabotage all that. You know what? To deal with the extortion, you got to get it out in the open, guys. That's why I did the video the other day, the video that's on my page. It might seem childish to most people, but it's not. It's actually me bringing out in the open what she would use as a weapon to try to extort me, right? Because she's thinking in her mind, she's like, oh, he'll never fucking say this because, and so she's using that as a weapon to try to get, I'm just gonna expose it. If that's what she's gonna use, I'm just gonna tell all of you that because now it neutralizes what she was trying to extort me with. Now she has nothing. I told the story. I'm not going to keep anything back. This is what she did, right? This is what she did. And it sucks. But I made the decision that she's not even part of this anymore. Because if the decision that you make is to intentionally hurt someone that you're supposed to be a friend of and that you believe in, and then the moment that person says, you know what, I'm not going to put up with that because you don't have the right to fucking hurt me like that, and I'm going to walk away, and then you're going to start fucking attacking the very thing that you said you believed in because of what? Huh? That means you didn't believe in it, Kara. You're a fucking liar, man. Words and actions. I'm telling you. You were not being truthful. I knew you weren't being truthful. And that's why I had no problem telling you to go the fuck away. That's why I travel on my own by myself is because there's too many of these fucking parasites that come in like Kara and like Amber and like all these other fucking people that want to come in and want to just fucking suck up some of the goodness that I have because I spread it everywhere, right? I give hope to all these people, but these fucking dumbasses want to come in and just suck it the fuck out of me. And they just drain me of all the goodness that I have. And then they walk around acting like they're good. Kara, you're a piece of shit. And you will be a piece of shit as long as you're out doing piece of shit things. As long as you're stealing from these fucking families and you're taking what little resources we have to be able to accomplish this, I'm gonna say that you're fucking worse than the judges. You're the top of the line piece of shit. And when you actually come in and you intentionally try to hurt someone that you're supposed to be a friend to, right? You intentionally do that because you knew that was the same shit that his fucking wife did, right? To him, and you open up those wounds. I'm gonna say, fuck you, Kara. That's a wicked fucking nasty shit to do, man. To do that to me. But you healed me. Thank you. You healed it because it had to open back up. I get it. I had to open back up. I had to see that shit. I had to go through it once again. And now that I've gone through it, I can say I don't want fucking people like that around me. I certainly don't want to be dating someone like that because I deserve way fucking better than that. You are not at my level, Kara. So you had to heal that, and I appreciate that now, Kara. I appreciate you opening that up because yeah, I needed to bring myself up to a level where I'm not descending into an area where I permit someone that's not good for me to hurt me, like you did. And I'm not going to permit you to hurt this tour anymore. It's not going to happen, okay? Not going to happen because these people are not going to donate anymore. I do not want anybody to donate anymore. If you guys want to, do it one last time. After that, I do not want any donations anymore. They don't need to come to me. They don't need to go to anybody. I will self-fund this from now on. I will find the source of the money, and I will finish this without your help. You guys keep your money. You're going to need it for when your family comes back home, okay? Keep your money. But do not give it to fucking to dumbasses that are walking around out here thinking that they can use it as an opportunity to advance their own selfish fucking interests, because I'm not going to permit that. I would rather go without than for those motherfuckers to get over on you. Okay? All right, so I need to go, as I was supposed to check out at 11 and it's now 1:30. Thank you guys so much. I have, I believe at 3 o'clock, I have a YouTube podcast that we're doing. I think it's Allegheny. Are you on here? What is the podcast? Facebook, if you could, I'll put it up. But at 3 o'clock, I'm going on a podcast, I think with Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, maybe. I did do harassment and bullying, huh? Whatever. I did do another podcast yesterday. There was the law libel, and we have 2 more coming up. But once I get on the road, guys, that's usually all I can focus on. So, I don't have good Wi-Fi. I don't have good service. You guys, I'm usually walking or whatever. Right now, I'm going to be hitchhiking to get back to the train. And then once I get down to Fort Worth, I'm at the mercy of the trip. And that's why, I don't usually talk to people when I'm there, because I have to stay very, very focused on the spirit, because at any given time, my path could open up. And if I'm not constantly focused on how do I get through step by step, then I'll miss those. So we're preparing for this last tour. We're getting ready. Even if you don't hear from me for a couple days, we're there. I'm out and I'm going to get this set up. The last steps here so we can have this final tour around the country, this victory lap. We've got a wonderful recording artist who has written a song for us, a song specifically for this, right? And so we've got our own song that has never been played, and nobody knows about. And she's going to actually come and open at these press conferences and rallies with that song, and then I'll do my talking. We're gonna have 16 places on each one of the buses. I think we got 2, so we have a total of 32 people that will be able to travel with us. So we already have 2 bunks that are already allotted. So the recording artist and myself. So we got another 30. We're gonna need those people because when we get to these places, we're gonna need people to have tablets. And those tablets, they're gonna need to go, and they're gonna need to go to the crowd, because these crowds are gonna build. They're gonna build very fast, because this affects every single state across the country. Once we get a regional market to acknowledge it in the news, it will explode to all regional markets. That's why it will be 32 press conferences at 32 state capitals over the course of 40 days, ending back in Washington, D.C., where there won't be a single news station in the country that won't be there to meet me and greet me and watch me as I walk in the Supreme Court. That's what it's all about. We break into the first market. Once we break in, all of the other states are going to want to run a segment on it. Iowa, Michigan, and Minnesota, and Ohio, they're all going to want to talk to me in a press conference and say, okay, what if this does go through? Right? We better let the state know about it, because it's moving down. And when that happens, then we will get the crowds. The crowds are going to come. And that's where we're going to get our final numbers, our final 500,000 numbers. So we're going to need you, people, on the bus with us, travel with us, with tablets, so that you can go out there into the crowd and take down the information from them, spit it out to a printer, get it printed up so we can reach our number, okay? So the affidavits that you guys have that you're trying to send and they're not going out, hold on site, keep them there, get ready for the rallies. Bring them to the rallies, okay? And these rallies are going to get set up. We have people that are getting involved now between recording artists, between athletes. We have a number of people that this is what they do: events, big events, and they're coming to start planning some big events for us, our event, because they want to see this happen. All of them want to see this happen. And the American people are going to want to see this happen too. The only people that don't want to see this happen are 40,000 fucking criminals, because they want to be able to continue to live in the lies of their delusion. But they're not going to be there much longer, all right? So thank you guys so much, and together we shall be free. God bless everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch here. Thank you. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you so much. God bless.